With the recent passing of Robin Williams, a lot of his work has been brought to the forefront. TV stations have been playing Aladdin, Hook, The Birdcage, all films from my childhood. But one that definitely got my attention again was Mrs. Doubtfire. We all know the story. A father dresses up as a nanny to be with his kids while they're going through a messy divorce. It's a classic and still one of my favorites. It is a good movie. No, it is a great movie. And you should all go out and watch it. So why am I doing an In My Sights episode on this? Well, like I said, I grew up with this film. I'm the same age as Myra Wilson, so I could really identify with the kids in it. But more importantly, my parents were going through a divorce at the same time this movie came out. Part of the joy of being a critic is you can look back with nostalgia on a lot of your childhood, but then as you get older, you can re-look at it and sometimes enjoy it from a brand new perspective. And other times, it falls a little flat. When I re-watched this movie, I was shocked at how my perspective had changed for some of these characters. Yet, I still found this a very good movie. So with that in mind, and to honour the passing of a great actor, I present to you Mrs. Doubtfire, the top 5 perspectives that changed when I became an adult. Right at the beginning of this movie, Daniel, played by Robin Williams, is not happy that the animation is promoting smoking to children through the cartoon. He subsequently quits when they refuse to change. As a child, watching him do this Porky Pig piss off dude was hilarious. Now as an adult, I find this very different. Not only would a cartoon like this not be made anymore because it does show and promote smoking, showing that Daniel was ahead of the times, but if a voice actor was fired because of a social issue like this, I can guarantee you social media would explode. Granted, the most social media you would get back then was the out and about pages on your newspaper, but I still think that if this had happened today, it would have turned out very differently, because voice actors are not only very well respected, but with the amount of followers they get, you just need to tweet one thing and it's retweeted 500,000 times already. This whole movie is based around Daniel being our hero, and as a child, that's exactly what I saw. But in reality, Daniel is not very responsible. He quit his job because he didn't agree with the message they were promoting. While that's admirable, it's also very irresponsible. You have 3 kids, a wife, and a house to pay for. Being an adult means doing some things that you might not like to do. If you really feel so strongly about the anti-smoking message, maybe you should be donating to an anti-smoking group. But of course, it's easier to be on a high horse and just walk out rather than actually do something about it. Instead, he burns his bridges with potential future employers and then spends a lot of money on a petting zoo. Yes, it's established that Miranda is the main breadwinner for the family, but that still doesn't mean he gets off scot-free. He still needs to contribute something to this relationship. He also goes behind Miranda's back when she said that she wanted a low-key thing. He lets the animals just wander through the house, and he's not being a responsible adult taking care of the party. No, he's joining in and being one of the children. I said to my wife when watching this scene again, that would be grounds for divorce. When he dons the persona of Mrs. Doubtfire, he's passive-aggressive to Stuart, he's manipulative to Miranda, rude to his boss, and causes criminal damages like a spoilt child.
So sad when that happens.
He is irresponsible and doesn't think about other people at all. In fact, it is very clear throughout the entire movie that he loves his kids, but he's just not a very nice person to everyone else. As a kid, I found this hilarious. As an adult, though, he would probably find my boot up his ass if he treated me like that. Now, while we've established that Daniel is a bit of a jerk, Miranda is a horrible person. When you're a young kid in the middle of a divorce, and of course every circumstance is different, but at least in my case, it's very easy to start being a little resentful and blame your mum when she starts seeing someone new. Rarely is a divorce just one person's fault. But as a child, it's very difficult to understand that. We as children take sides, and that means, of course, that we need to blame somebody. We see Daniel as so much fun, the life of the party, doing funny voices. On the other side, we see Miranda as the stern, strict parent, very rarely laughing, doing all the boring adult stuff. So, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we automatically make her the villain. Firstly, she went and tried to get full custody of the kids. Not caring what the kids wanted or needed themselves, it was just so she could get one up on him. This is made clear when, at the very beginning, she eats up his time which he's meant to be spending with them by dropping them off late and picking them up early.
No, our children are not ready yet, because you are an hour early, and you were an hour late dropping them off.
Daniel, I'm really sorry, but I don't have time for this.
This is also enforced at the end when Daniel loses custody of the kids in the final hearing. They get this little confrontation scene.
So what do you want me to do? Want me to pretend like everything's all right? Put on a happy face, smile? Jesus, Miranda, you took my children away from me. You just sat there in that courtroom. You knew the truth. You didn't say a word. You let that judge pass that despicable sentence.
I was angry.
Oh.
Look, you hurt me too.
Oh, you ripped my heart out. Will you come back to do it again?
I lied to... you know what?
She knew the truth, but she was angry. That doesn't seem like a very nice person to me. She also does this line.
Daniel was so wonderfully different and funny. He could always make me laugh.
They always say the key to a solid marriage is laughter.
But after a few years, everything just stopped being funny. The truth is, I didn't like who I was when I was with him. I would turn into this horrible person. I didn't want my kids growing up with a mother like that.
When you meet someone, and this is the person that you fall in love with and like, it's not fair that then you need to change them to make you happy. If she didn't like the person she was when she was around him, that implies that the fault lies within her, not Daniel. She didn't communicate very well with him throughout the relationship of what we saw. Granted, they're both very guilty of this, but most of all, she never talks to Daniel. I was very lucky. My parents, even though they were going through this divorce, they kept their lines of communication open for my brothers and my sake. They understood that even though they were separated, we were still both their kids, and that any major decisions needed to be discussed. Even though this line...
You don't have to run off when she honks the horn. Come on, you're on my time now. You're my goddamn kids, too.
...was said in anger, it reigns very true, and I don't think Miranda was listening. Or, which makes it worse, she didn't care. As a child, I just saw her as a grumpy adult. Here, she does come off as a very mean and vindictive person. How did he think that this was a good idea, and how did he think he was going to get away with it? I mean, seriously, this whole movie was a lot of fun, but at what point do you think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dress up as a 60-year-old woman, infiltrate myself into my ex-wife's house so I can be with my kids, not tell them that I'm there, so I can just watch over them. His closing argument to the judge is very heartfelt.
In regards to my behavior, I can only plead insanity. Because ever since my children were born, the moment I looked at them, I was crazy about them. Once I held them, I was hooked. I'm addicted to my children, sir. And I would do anything. I just want to be with them. You know, I need that, sir. We have a history. And they mean everything to me, and they need me as much as I need them. So please, don't take my kids away from me.
But in the end, the judge is completely right. This is not the actions of a sane person. If you were to put any other actor in this role, say Nicolas Cage or Martin Lawrence, you wouldn't be laughing at their shenanigans. You'd be thinking these are the actions of a sociopath. The only reason Robin Williams got away with it is because he's Robin Williams. So kudos to the casting team there. And the number one perspective that changed? Pierce Brosnan is not the bad guy. I know, this was the biggest shock to my system. You see, at the time, my mum was seeing someone else who would, in the future, become my stepdad. We didn't have the greatest relationship starting off. But throughout the years, and through a lot of effort on his part, we became really close. And, as well, and more importantly, we respected one another. That would be years in the future, but at the time, all I saw was my mum dating somebody else who was trying to replace my dad, somebody who was trying to enforce rules and tell me what to do and enforce his own viewpoints into things. And that didn't sit well with me. So naturally, when I was watching this movie, I saw Pierce Brosnan's character as the bad guy. But no, he wasn't. Throughout the movie, he goes above and beyond the call of duty to try and make everyone feel at ease. He tries to make Mrs. Doubtfire feel friendly and loved, even though she's being a passive-aggressive bitch to him. He is loving and caring to the kids, and he really does care for Miranda. I think this scene sums it up nicely.
Who's Rugrats?
Miranda Hillard's.
Miranda Hillard?
Mm-hmm. The woman I'm seeing.
No kidding. You? The guy who's never having kids? Won't have anything to do with kids? You won't even date a woman who's got kids.
People change, Ron. I'm pushing 40. I don't want to spend the rest of my life by myself.
She's got an awful lot of baggage, though. 3 kids.
3 terrific kids, and I'm crazy about them. Especially that little Natalie. Look at her. She needs to sleep, God knows. They need some kind of stable father figure in their life right now. Thanks, Todd.
Oh, what about their real father?
What can I say, Ron? The guy's a loser. I'll see you.
He does not have an ulterior motive. He generally wants a family. He calls Daniel a loser because, well, let's be honest, he was a loser. He had no job, he took no responsibility, and he was a jerk.
You just blew my mind.
Now, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I love this movie. This is a great movie, and you should go out and see it right now. This movie is so full of life and fun and energy and shenanigans, just like Robin Williams is. Just like Robin Williams was. At its heart, it's not about some guy dressing up and having a lot of fun. It's about family and love. The last 5 minutes of the movie hits the nail on the head. It doesn't matter if your parents are going through a divorce. It doesn't matter whether or not they love each other anymore. The important thing is that you are loved and that the divorce was not your fault. This movie hit all the right notes at a time when it was very close to heart. It also was a great movie because it made me laugh at a time when I really did need a laugh. Sure, even though the references and technology may be a little bit outdated now, the message is still as relevant as it was 15 years ago. We all have our favourite Robin Williams movie, and I'd love to hear some of yours. Please leave a message down below so I can maybe check out some of the ones I haven't seen and revisit some of the ones I have. But thank you, Robin. Thank you for everything.